Emotional regulation in the moment. How do we do it? Hi, this is Chris Priebe from Chris Priebe Hypnosis, and in this 3-video series, I'm going to go over my top 3 tools for emotional regulation in the moment, and then I'll do a deep dive on each one. So the top 3 tools are as follows: physiological sigh, bilateral stimulation, and something called the 3-2-1 reset. Now let's look a little closer, shall we? The next technique is called bilateral stimulation. And I learned this one from Melissa Tears. And again, I highly recommend looking into some of her stuff. Bilateral stimulation is basically when we're taking something and we're having it cross the midline. Now what that does is it stimulates our brain on both hemispheres. You see, anxiety or stress is usually a cluster in one or the other hemispheres. And what this does is by adding energy, by adding blood flow to both hemispheres, it sort of takes that anxiety cluster and it sort of dissipates and then it goes away. So once again, think of something that's been tripping you up for the last little while. Could be some anxiety, could be some stress, could be anything really. And when you have that, assign it a number between 1 and 10, with 1 being not a problem at all, 10 being a really bad problem. Okay, you got that? Perfect. Now, grab an object. It could be any object at all. I'm doing some painting, so I'm going to use a roll of painter's tape. It can be pretty much any object at all. Recommend not using your phone because sometimes our phones are the exact thing that's causing the anxiety or the stress. So pick up an object. Again, you're just going to hold it in your hand, and you're going to hold your hand in front of them, sort of your midline, and you're going to pass the object back and forth. And have your hands sort of cross the midline. Just move it back and forth, back and forth. And what this is doing is stimulating your brain. So you've got the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. You have energy, you have blood flowing to both sides of the brain so that old cluster just can't seem to hold it together. And then as it disappears, the brain, the body, just takes care of it. And you can do this with anything. You can do it in a meeting, and you can with a pen, again, I'm using a roll of tape. You can use a ball. Stress balls are amazing for this. Just take a deep breath and check back in on yourself. What number is that now? Bilateral stimulation. It's quick, it's effective, and it works. Again, a top tip for this is to do this, to practice this when you don't necessarily need it, when the emotion isn't at a 10. What that does is it frees up bandwidth so that maybe things won't get to that. Well, again, what this will do when you do it when you don't necessarily need it is build it in as a habit. So it becomes a tool in your toolbox for dealing with anxiety, for dealing with any sort of emotional things, so you can have emotional regulation in the moment. Bilateral stimulation. Try it out. I'm sure you're going to love it. My name is Chris Priebe from Chris Priebe Hypnosis, and for one more in this 3-video series, just watch the next video, and I'll see you there.